comedy podcast. Comedy podcast. Get your ass ready for a comedy podcast. About roadway deaths. About roadway deaths. About roadway deaths. About roadway deaths. Comedy podcast. Comedy podcast. A certified motherfucking comedy podcast. About roadway deaths. About roadway deaths. About roadway deaths. About roadway deaths. Get yourself together. It's a certified fucking good time. Yeah. Rock bottom. We're at rock bottom.
SOS listener.
We're having a bit of an identity crisis about the future of the show.
We know that you're confused, and your confusion pales in the face of the confusion that we're experiencing at the moment.
Lucas sent me some materials to put in the show notes as like a little description. And it was just so far from what I imagined the show was that I figured we had to bring it here and just discuss kind of like what our pitch is, what the show is, perhaps a little bit of who we even are, or why we may be qualified to talk about this.
Or at least quantified to talk about this.
So I don't have any analytics set up on my website, which is let's face it, probably a bad look, but I don't really care. You know, I don't there's certain things I want to know about my websites, but at the end of the day, it's like it's a hassle, and it either costs money or you have to build something. But I think we have like 1,000 downloads on all of our episodes. Combined.
That's quite a few.
We have Spotify analytics, so Spotify is tracking you, right? And when we released the first episode, 4 people followed our podcast. And since that episode, over the last 8 episodes, all of them have unsubscribed from our podcast. We're back down to 0. Wow. Rock bottom.
Yeah, off to a tough start.
It's good. This is good.
I mean, but how
you
many
can't
of those
hit
are
rock
like...
top if you don't go rock bottom.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I mean, if you don't bounce off the... if the basketball didn't bounce off the court, we wouldn't have a game.
Oh, that's so good, Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that what my description is that I sent you, and we should get into that.
Yeah, here, do you want to pull it up?
Is, and I don't even remember, let me pull it up on my end too here. But, I think what I'm trying to pull us towards is, you have birthed this idea, right? I think that we could think of you as the show's father, right? And I'm thinking of myself kind of as the show's mother. The show needs to be nurtured, and it needs to be brought into society, right? We need to find a way to convince people that this is something that's worth their time. You know what I mean?
I think you're underestimating people's deeply antisocial tendencies.
I definitely do err on the side of hopefulness on that question, which is probably the wrong position. So I warrant that.
Okay, so here we go. Here's a crack at some basic text for the show notes. Thank you, Lucas. This is Are You Into Bus Stuff? A podcast trying to cross the road at the intersection of queerness and institutional violence. We discuss maps, historical data, traffic violence statistics, and gooning, just to name a few. It's a typo at the end there, but you get the point. I was thinking more like it's just guys being dudes.
Yeah, but that means something drastically different, and I think something that we're opposed to in the current political climate, right?
My other pitch was it's the world's first comedy podcast about roadway deaths.
That is so much better.
At least that one's a unique angle.
Right. Right, and that's what I'm sort of trying to capture is we're definitely, at this point, a banter podcast that focuses in on transportation content from time to time. I would say probably, maybe 40 to 60% of the time that we're jabbering. But, it does need to be about something. And like it is at the intersection of queerness and institutional violence. Like that is what we've talked about. I know it's in the format of, us shooting the shit and the beautiful charisma and kismet that lives between you and I. That's always been there. But in order for people to understand that, we have to explain it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The bus stuff was always just a crude joke about sex, right? And but even though we're both queer people, we both have like wives.
Well, you're a fucking queer person. I'm not a queer person. Don't call me that.
So it's like, I don't know, man. We both have wives. We're very like, we don't present much queerness.
Well, I think that this is a great place to go, because this is something that, I live with a lot, because, queerness is a big part of my identity. And certainly I'm a mask presenting person, I'm a he, him for sure. And I take a lot of pride in being that he, him. I talked a little bit about that, on the podcast. But just because I'm not dressing as a lady all the time, I usually do a few times a year. But just because I'm presenting myself in my cis, circles, especially like in work, which is something I'm forced to do. Like it doesn't make me any less queer, and it doesn't make me any more interested in engaging in toxic masculinity.
This is good. That's good. I appreciate that take.
Which is at the intersection of institutional violence, particularly as it relates to car culture and truck culture.
Car culture is a culture of violence, right? And the dominant like culture of violence in our society is patriarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get you, but I mean, I don't know if I want to listen to that podcast.
Well, I don't think that it changes fundamentally the like beat that we're on. I think we've already been making that podcast, and
it's true. I mean, we're really just talking about maps.
Yeah,
and cities.
Exactly, and your voice is very different than my voice, and that's how it should be. And I think what we've been discussing and kind of circling around is how do we put some structure to this format so that we can bring forth the most listenable parts of our discourse.
That's a very, very good way to put it.
So, yeah, I think that we're on the right track.
Rock bottom.
We took the 15 to rock bottom.
The 101 to Bottomville. Okay, so I guess I have a lot of bus content this week. That's the thing, is like I have transportation stuff to talk about, but we did say we were gonna come here and hash out a little bit of structure. I think we could just set something as an experiment, and then we can try something new next week if we want.
Well, I mean, I think we just spent like, I don't know, 6 or 8 minutes doing sort of introduction, and I think that's fair. And now it's bus content with Ben.
Well, I mean, I made a bunch of maps. We were gone. I went to Seattle.
Yeah.
I went to a real city. I walked around. Here, Lucas, pull up roadway.report/population.
Ooh.
So I finally made a population-scaled map of roadway fatality rates. So the map is in 3D, and the population density of a place is the height of that spot on the map is like how many people live there. And then the color is the fatality rate per capita. So it's just an interesting way to look at different neighborhoods and see like how many people are living under high levels of traffic violence in their like immediate area. Um, and Lucas, if you pull up, it's the same link. It's roadway.report / population underscore non-motorist. No, so this one is just non-motorist deaths, pedestrians, bikes. And so you'll see in rural areas where there's like no pedestrians at all, some will have a 0 fatality rate. Like it's green in some rural areas because there are no pedestrian deaths in that census tract. Um, but if you go to like an urban area, you'll start to see the effects of urban segregation pretty clearly. St. Louis, Detroit, Kansas City, all good places to start with either of those maps.
All good places to start in more senses than one.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are starting to slow down.
San Luis?
This is like a big step for Roadway Report because this is kind of the way we want to start to frame the problem as like a public health issue, which is heavily racialized.
Yeah, and divided along economic boundaries.
Right.
The same as the rest of the key statistics for health.
It's a comedy podcast.
Hey!
So that's one thing I was up to. Okay. Now this is gonna fuck you up. Or do you want to talk about the map for a little while? I mean, you look like you're actually looking at it.
No, I'm looking at it. I think I want to talk about it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it continues to be true that I usually always look at my home city, Denver, and then usually I'll look at St. Louis and Chicago because they're two cities that I know fairly well. And, then I'll look at New York to kind of compare it to Chicago as, the big city. And it is, it's striking that in the older cities that have been more segregated for way longer, the data is clearer to the eye. The trends are clearer. And I'm just, sort of grappling with the fact that, every time I look at one of these maps in Denver, except the, base, the even distribution of roadway fatalities in Denver is fairly striking to me. Like, it happens across the entire network of roads.
Yeah, dead ass.
Like, dying on the road in Denver is a little bit more indiscriminate. Which is just kind of interesting to me. But, especially looking at these cities that I've lived in, St. Louis in particular.
The part of Denver north west of the railroad tracks is terrifying. There's a very high incidence of roadway fatalities.
Let me go to the non-motorist.
Well, here, I'm looking at the regular one right now.
Because the reason for that is it contains the largest sections of I-25 and I-70. So it's grouping together all of those deaths that happened at that intersection of major freeways on the freeways.
Oh, and it's because I toggled the density off. You can make it 2D or 3D. But the helpful thing about the 3D is it shows you like, yeah, most of the high density areas are like safer by comparison, but there's some,
Yeah.
There's some high density areas with pretty high incidence of fatalities.
Indeed. Yeah, and it's true that, you can see in Denver proper the divide. The east side of Denver is where, all of the A and B, not all of them, but the majority of the A and B rated neighborhoods from the redlining maps in the 1940s, they were all out on the east side of town that are sort of mid-density blocks on this map, but, bright green. And the places that were redlined, by and large, correspond exactly with the red blocks on this map.
Dealing with the legacy of segregation.
And they are on the west side of town, they are attempting to resolve some of that. They have expanded the bike network pretty significantly. But part of the history of that too is the southwest quadrant of the city in particular was sort of developed last. It got the streetcar last, and the streetcar disappeared from there first. So it's always been a place that's been more difficult to live if you were commuting to the major hubs of employment in Denver historically, which have been along the river and along the railroad. So it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see. And, listener, I definitely encourage you to, look at your city and see what the heck's going on.
Yeah, and it's not super cut and dry everywhere. Like, there's just so many variables. Some two census tracts next to each other can have really different population densities. The roadway network is going to look completely different if one major road happens to pass through one tract but not the other. Like, it still negatively affects people in both tracts, that sort of thing. So this isn't a perfect resource, but it does bear some very important patterns regarding the history of urban development in America.
Mm-hmm. And I've brought this point up too. It's important to distinguish between a roadway death that is happening within a given census tract and the census tract from which that person hails, right? Because you might get hit by a car or die on the freeway at the intersection of I-70 and I-25 in Denver. But the reason that you had to drive through that extremely dangerous section of road is because you were priced out of the comfortable urban center, moved to the suburbs, and now have to drive 20, 30 miles to work every day. There's a lot more at work than just where the deaths are happening. Like you said, it has to do with the whole composition of the road network, really the whole composition of the city. But this is another great, I think, resource in one's arsenal if they were trying to understand what's going on in their city and make steps to make it safer.
All right, King. Do you want to see the fucking sickest shit I've ever done?
Nah.
Not like in a sicko way. Not sicko mode, Travis Scott.
I've seen you create some sick shit, bro.
That's so true. That's so fucking true. Lucas has been there for my one-man show, my first concept album, my second concept album.
I think I'm culpable.
Culpable is an excellent way to put it. Okay, I need you to go to roadway.report/Reddit. And this is going to rock your fucking world, brother.
When are we going to get roadway.report/GoonArmy?
We can launch it. I can send that before the end of this podcast.
Okay. Just slash Reddit?
Yeah, /Reddit.
Okay, I see a table.
Okay. Scroll down. Just try to figure out what this table is. I have to admit some of the filtering's not excellent.
But you're querying Reddit for basically any post related to roadway safety or potential roadway hazards.
Yeah, like crashes, basically. Yeah. Anytime anyone posts the word crash in the LA subreddit or the Dallas subreddit, it comes to this page. And
has anyone? So the first hit right now, listener, is pretty revelatory, I think, of some of the problem here. Has anyone been on the river trail in the last 24 hours and know how the snow is clearing so far? I'm thinking about going on a ride, but I want to know if there's going to be several inches of snow. I can deal with ice, but if there's 3+ inches of snow, it'll be hard to get traction. It's like, maybe don't drive your car today.
That's a biking guy, though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a cyclist. He just wants to bike.
Okay, well then he can bike.
But no, so I've been using this to when someone gets in a car crash to just pop in as roadway report and be like, "Hello, cars are bad."
Yeah.
Like, think about it this way. So, like, anytime anybody gets clocked anywhere in America, I'm going to know. And I'm going to be able to just slide in their DMs and be like, hello.
Well, yeah. I mean, how do you plan on filtering through things like new tower reaching 54 stories would be Fort Lauderdale's tallest?
I don't know. Just, like, more specific filters. You know,
Just
like
manually.
car crash instead of plane crash, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
This is the first attempt.
Nice.
And it's like 15 keywords and 2,500 subreddits.
There is a gray single-family home on Chandler Street near Worcester State that is occupied by a group of young Worcester State men. The property owner appears to be an absentee landlord. Snow never gets cleared, property is in disarray. These guys throw the absolute most obnoxious parties.
Oh shit. Okay, here's a good one. 2 Savannah Police Department vehicles involved in early morning accident. They were responding to a burglary. Oh no. The Savannah Police Department wants residents to be aware of a police presence downtown following a collision involving 2 police vehicles. They were responding. They only hit each other, is what this article says, and it was 3:41 in the morning.
Yikes.
That's really funny. This is the world we live in, where like the people who are tasked with enforcing traffic laws are incapable of not hitting each other on empty roads. Like, that's the system we designed.
Yep. 100%.
Siri, shut the fuck up. Siri, you don't. God fucking damn it. AI is trying to get me.
When Ben refers to his wife, he's talking about Siri.
No. I'm not married to my Siri. I love my wife.
So what exactly do you plan to do with this once you're able to get the filters working?
Well, no, I mean, it already works. It's like, well, you can tell right away which ones are pertinent.
Sure. Yeah. I
So
just mean, are you hoping to, you're hoping to comment
pop
on
in
these
there.
posts?
Yeah, just be like,
Okay.
yo, I'm glad. Sometimes people are like, almost just got hit by a car. And I can just be like, hey, that sucks. Check out Roadway Report. I'm glad you didn't end up on a Roadway Report.
Nice. Absolutely. I mean, we might be able to uncover some good.
Think of it this way:
guests.
you've got to seed the fact that the product exists in different circles of influence. So, like, I can put stickers up all over Austin, and I can make sure every fucking cyclist in the city understands what Roadway Report is, understands what we want and what the world we want to build. But, like, if it can pay dividends to plant that seed in one person in Savannah, Georgia, or like, just start hitting metros in any way we can, right? And this is a really good way to connect with like-minded people in those areas.
Of course, we might even be able to find people who are interested in telling their stories on the pod.
I mean, who hasn't been hit by a fucking car? TBH.
My coworker Alex was hit by a car on a scooter not too long ago. He got pretty injured. He was out of work for several months. We all know someone like this, and he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was following a signaled intersection, following the rules, and he got clocked. I-35 lanes expansion. Does anyone know if there are any plans in the future to expand the I-35 west lanes between Fort Worth and Denton? I don't know how much longer we have to wait. Car brain is real.
Bro, people want lanes. It's like, sometimes I ask myself, how did we build this horrible system? And it's because these fat fucks love it, bro. They just eat that shit up.
Yeah, it's true. In the face of overwhelming...
If lanes were glizzies, they'd be gobbling them. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, see, this is why I built this. Man hit by multiple cars on Parkway. None stopped.
Oh. Bleak.
New Jersey. Man, I hate cars. Anyway, that's about all I got for transportation content. Seattle was really lovely. Saw the fam. Took a good 20-mile walk.
Were you
Uh,
hanging out at your brother's or?
yeah, most of my brother, my uncle, saw my parents.
Heck yeah.
The city's fun. I went to Chinook's, which is this fancy ass